You know, a compromised message is never going to work. Why? Because the central truth is that there's never been a single instant of time that didn't have the blessing of God's non-judgment upon it. Not a single instant. How can you teach something different than that and be effective? It's not possible. So you either listen to somebody who is teaching the truth or somebody who is not teaching the truth. There's no other option. Let's put it this way. If we're listening to someone who doesn't know the truth and is not teaching the truth, we're not listening to truth. Right? If we listen to someone who does know the truth and is teaching the truth, we're listening to the truth. Okay, those are the two options. There's not a third option there. You can go back and forth between the two, which you might say a third option, but this is really just each one cancels out the other. Each one denies the other. So where is their learning taking place? There's just confusion and suffering taking place in that instance. Confusion. Teaching yourself confusion, that's not the answer. Guilt will try to get us to be happy with confusion. That's what it tries to do. It says, hey, you know, we need to be fair. Let's be fair to both sides. Let's be fair to what doesn't work and what does work. Let's be fair to both truth and lies. And when you attempt to be fair, you're going to end up in severe depression and confusion. And maybe prior to getting into severe confusion, you will start acting out aggressively in the world, which is what happens in the world. So we have, if you want peace in this world, a relative peace, at least some stability. Let's put it this way: if we want to avoid extreme problems in the world, we have to get away from this notion of fairness onto what is right. We have to get into listening to truth and realizing that trying to listen to both truth and lies, that leads to the conflicts in the world. That's what leads to it, severe conflicts. Now, listening to lies leads to severe delay, which then builds up even worse conflicts later on. So that's also a very bad option. So there's two bad options: listening to lies and trying to balance out lies and truth. Those are both horrible options for you and cause unbelievable problems. Listening to truth takes you in the right direction, great direction. So again, one is either listening to truth or listening to lies. There's no other option. Even when you ping pong between the two of them, you're still either listening to one or the other. So it's not like we're listening to something else, because either God has perfect non-judgment upon all dreams, or God doesn't have perfect non-judgment. There's no third option, and we keep on through guilt thinking like, hey, in fear of God, we think, hey, we have to find something else, or let's listen to both, or go back and forth and call that a third option. It's not a third option, but ping-ponging back and forth is not really a third option. It's just that we're listening to truth now, and then lies, and then truth, and then lies, and back and forth, driving ourselves nuts with that. And inevitably, there's a phase that people go through when they're trying to get away from lies. They say, well, I want to be fair to lies. I don't want to, abandon lies. So I'll go back and forth, and that causes a lot of distress for sure. But at least if you hear what's going on and someone tells you, then you start saying, hey, okay. So I was helped greatly by someone who knew the truth. And spoke the truth and explained what was going on in a big picture way. And I gradually realized that I was making some sort of mistake, and I could eventually come out of it. And it's necessary. Listening to truth is easy. It's going back and forth that's difficult. People say, oh, the path is so difficult. Well, ping-ponging back and forth is very difficult. It's terrible. Listening to lies is terrible. Ping-ponging back and forth is terrible. But that's not the path. The path is to listen to truth. And what's happened in this world is, with this resurgence of irresponsibility and spiritual laziness in the world, and the belief that we can simply build a utopia on this planet through use of high technology, people have fallen into this trap of extreme laziness where they think, well, maybe we don't really have to listen to the truth, or maybe we can just listen to it a little bit of the time, and the rest of the time listen to lies, or ping-pong back between the two of them. And that, of course, this leads to great depression, which externalizes often in financial depressions and world wars and things like that. We're headed straight into the mouth, into the maw of that, because collectively the planet is getting depressed. And oftentimes when that happens, there's a projection of the oppression. The oppression is within, is ping-ponging back and forth. You see, in the past, those who decided to go on the spiritual path, they had much more discipline and guidance and reassurance and support, etc., to say, this is the way. This is it. Okay, so get into it 100%. Nowadays, we're saying, hey, let's not put our eggs in that all in that basket. Let's do half and half, because look at the high technology. So people say, wow, wait a minute, this is really amazing. Look what we can do with medicine and all this stuff. Maybe we can have it both. We can have it all. So there's been this philosophy, this false, ruinous philosophy of we can have it all. We can have it all, and we need to just progress in that direction of having it all. We can have both truth and lies. Why do we have to choose? That kind of thing. So what's happened then is those who want truth somewhat, which is everybody does, they're now trying to do it both, have it all, and there's no discipline. There's not enough teachers. There's not enough adamant teachers. The whole system is broken down, and that leads to a global depression. At least the planet is, the people are unmistakably depressed and desperately trying to hide it through frivolity. The signs are there. Having myself gone through it all, I know you get more and more into frivolity, into music and dancing and whining and dining and promiscuity and dressing up, more emphasis on form instead of content. All these gambling is a very, very strong indication that you are getting deep into depression. More emphasis on luck, which is gambling, and all the superficial frivolity is a desperate defense against the inner sense of severe depression, severe confusion. Depression is really severe confusion, and the signs are unmistakable in the world, unmistakable. Again, for those who have been through it all and they know the signs. It's the writing's on the wall unmistakably. And again, there's a tendency to get very paranoid at a certain point in time in depression. I went through that myself too. It was amazing. I was kind of I went through the whole thing just watching it for so long and just observing it and just seeing, wow. And there's a time of paranoia where you think everybody's out to get you. And it's incredible, the fear that you can go into. And then you can project it out on the world and think the world's out to get you, and all this stuff happens when you go into depression. Well, just imagine an entire planet of people that way. The amount of projection that's taking place, the amount of paranoia. Big trouble, big trouble. It results in, economic collapse. I believe the euro is going to collapse. I'm one of those who I've seen that taking place. Is going to collapse. Cyprus is basically collapsed, and Greece is really on life support, and a run on Greek banks could collapse Greece, and the whole system of the euro could very well collapse. I believe it will. And then the Russian United States, the whole geopolitical landscape is going to be in a turmoil. And with the collective global depression, psychological depression that people have, that's a recipe for disaster. And it all comes about through the undermining of spiritual discipline, through the introduction of superficial comforts that the so-called Age of Enlightenment has brought about, which is not the Age of Enlightenment at all. It's the Age of Depression. Should be renamed. And when we call this whole upsurge of science and technology the Age of Enlightenment, it's not. It's the Age of Depression. Because what it does is it offers a carrot, saying, hey, what about this? Your spiritual path is so difficult. Why don't you have some of this? Yeah. And people gradually begin to lose their drive and motivation to persevere. Remember, all spiritual teachers tell you perseverance is the key. It is the key. Absolutely is the key. Nobody will succeed on a spiritual path without perseverance. And so the more temptation you have not to persevere, the easier it is to fall away and then try to juggle the two and ping pong back and forth. That leads to severe depression. And when you have a situation that's globally that way, then you are guaranteed in for hell. It's really, you're looking at confusion, externalized confusion, chaos, externalized chaos, where people are simply are not stable. They're not stable. And the stability we see in the world right now is a very fragile thing. It's kind of like Greek banks. We say, okay, everything's fine with Greece. No, it's not. 5% run on the banks in Greece collapsed the whole thing. So it's not stable at all. The world is not stable at all. The financial situation world is not stable. The whole world is not stable. People's psyches are not stable at all. And the problem is that the spirituality the world's been engaging is dilettantism. It's amateurism. It's amateur hour in the world, really. I was going through all the sayings of Anandamayi Ma last night, and each one, I saw it and I felt very clear about it. I said, that's right on the mark, right on the mark, right on the mark. And I understood it all so clearly. That's a result of concerted perseverance. It doesn't happen overnight at all. You can't be a dilettante on the spiritual path. You're going to end up depressed. And so you have to graduate from dilettantism into really dedication and perseverance. And the world doesn't support that anymore. So what you have is a world full of spiritual dilettantes, where it's like shopping. Let's go out shopping. Let's shop for this accessory, spiritual accessory. Let's shop for this accessory. And let's spend our time in sort of spiritual frivolity. Let's do some stretching and some yoga and some little bit of chanting, some breathing, and let's make it, let's just kind of play with it and be and that kind of thing. And then let's do it all. Let's also do the whole worldly thing and the flesh, and let's do everything. It doesn't work that way. Recipe for disaster. And in this time, those who know the truth are not being listened to, because those who are selling this dilettantism are the ones who are being listened to by and large. Because that's what people want. They say, wait, we don't want to forsake all this incredible progress in the world, or all this amazing, whatever it is supposed to be amazing. And we don't want to forsake that. So we want that too. So let's not get too serious about the spiritual path. We don't want to get too serious about it, because maybe we'll, something will happen to our affluence or whatever. That's the problem. It's a recipe for disaster. Spiritual path is for those who are dedicated. If you're not dedicated, you shouldn't be involved with it. It's really better not to be involved with it at all if you're not going to be dedicated. And of course, dedication is something that may come along gradually, but in your heart, you know it. For instance, I was born dedicated from before birth, and then through birth, and as a little baby child, everything I was interested in was saints and sages and gurus and spiritual teaching and truth and liberation and salvation. That's all I was interested in from the get-go. And of course, along with just general childhood pursuits of playing and stuff, but I was totally serious about it, and then have never stopped being totally serious about it. So that's the kind of thing that's necessary. And dilettantism is a dangerous thing. So the situation of the way the world's set up right now as spiritual teachers is dilettantism. It's not set up right. It's not set up right. And trying to fix it, I mean, it's like Humpty Dumpty is falling off a wall. I mean, the pot is cracked, it's broken in thousands of pieces. I mean, trying to put it together again is ridiculous. I've looked at the whole world situation and said, can it be fixed? And it's you can always say that something can be done. You can always find something, silver lining, etc. But as far as on the short term, no. Short-term, no. It's way too late for the short-term fix. The world is depressed. It's already severely depressed, and it's in a free fall. Once you get into severe depression, it goes down and you bottom out. That's what happens. You bottom out. So the world's going to bottom out. There's no question about that. And been there, done that. So once it bottoms out, then there's a different perspective. Really, there is. They say, "Whoa, that didn't work. What went wrong?" And then at that point, teachers, real teachers, can help out. At this point, real teachers aren't being listened to. They're not. It's incredible. I mean, we had some of the best teachers in the history of this planet here just recently. Really, as good as there's ever been on this planet. That is a fact. You have at least two of them, and there's probably some others people can talk about. But two, Ramana Maharshi and Anandamayi Ma, those two teachers are as good as we've ever had on this planet. And they're not being listened to. They're not being listened to. Because they're too serious. We say, "Wow, we don't want that. That's too much. They don't understand the progress we've made." Yes, they do. They understand it perfectly well. They understand the teaching perfectly well. I was listening again, all the sayings of Anandamayi, and I said, "Wow, she's exactly right on the mark. She's nobody's fool at all. Nobody's fool at all." She just dismissed all this modern progress. Said it's ridiculous. Paid no attention. Said this is simply a distraction, diversion. Just a diversion. The problem remains the same. Your situation, your spiritual path and necessity always remains the same. This stuff is just foam, just foam on the surface. You still have to do the work. And so they're not being utilized. So we're in a time now when even the best teachers come in the world but will not be utilized by the world. So basically we have to wait until the world bottoms out. Nothing else you can do. Nothing else you can do. Even in my situation, I bottomed out. I mean, I have these great teachers, and there's nothing they could do about it. They had to let me bottom out, and then once I bottomed out, hello, and here we are, and here we go, and was able to shed that entire complex and work to getting up to the surface, as it were. I've been dragged down under into this terrible turbulence and confusion, and then getting back up to the surface of clarity and the light of freedom. So the world is going to bottom out, and the teachings in the world, I've been monitoring them for so long, it's superficial. It's superficial. It's just serving the purpose of deceiving people into thinking they can have it all. That's all it's doing. And the language of adamancy and no compromise, and that language is disappeared from the spiritual landscape. It really has. Only the old school people talk that way. Unfortunately, my teachers are old school. And so I'm tuned into that. I'm old school, which is right school. Which is no compromise. Again, either God's non-judgment is total, or it's not. It's one or the other. You can't have a situation where you're talking about totality. You can't have either total. It's either total or not total. There isn't some other option, and we keep thinking there's some other option that we don't have to accept either one of those. Not true. Not true. And not doing anyone any favors by teaching compromise or teaching that we can have it all. This is simply not true. We're flattering ourselves. We're spiritual flattery. The world is basically just flattering itself at this time. The ego is just flattering itself, saying, "Oh yeah, I can be totally enlightened, and plus I can have all the progress, and I can have everything. I can have reality, and I can have dreams, and I can have two homes. I can have one home in reality and one home in dreams." That kind of thing. Yeah, let's have two homes. No, it's not possible. Dreams will never be our home. We can have a happy dream, which solves the continuity problem for us, that we have to have that, as a matter of fact, but it's not our home. It's not our home. It's still not our home. We're not going to say, hey, I'll dwell a little while in reality, and then I'll come back into dreams and dwell there, because I kind of want to change it up a little bit. Vacation home. No. No vacation home in dreams. No vacation home in hypotheticals, in impermanence, in delusion. No vacation home there. We just make our imaginary dwelling place here reflect reality, so we can not be frightened about dropping dreaming altogether. Once we get home, we're not going to want to go back into dreaming ever again. Forget it. No way. That is for sure. That is guaranteed for sure. So it's tough news right now, because what I see very clearly is that the world's going to bottom out. It's going to bottom out. It's going to go through hell. And there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. And right now, the teachers are not being listened to. It's just supporting dilettantism. It's just trying to promote an atmosphere of let's be all-inclusive, meaning let's include both truth and lies, and we can make a home out of both of them. That's like saying we can put a home on a foundation of everything and nothing at the same time. That's what it's saying. It's just ridiculous. And all these dilettantes, spiritual dilettantes of the world, are trying to be so sweet and nice and kind and beautiful and loving, and what they're really promoting is this let's have it all, which is not leads everybody into depression. Really. I always say the goddess is the one that leads into depression. I should call it the goddess of depression. Again, the Enlightenment is the age of depression, and we've glamorized it up, and so it seems all pretty and beautiful and all spiritualized, but it's just spiritual gloss, like putting a lip gloss on. All this beautiful lip gloss, and everybody's thinking, hey, we can have it all. We don't have to sit in a cave and meditate and contemplate and watch our thought. We don't have to do the tough work. We're gonna have gadgets do that for us pretty soon. Any computers can do it for us. Gadgets can do it for us. We'll figure out. Someone really smart will figure out a way that make it all unnecessary for us. So why are we stressing about it anyway? Let's celebrate. Let's have fun. Let's have fun. Fun. Until the daddy takes the T-bird away. So that's the climate, the cultural climate. Let's have fun, till our daddy takes the T-bird away, as it were, which means until we bottom out. And then that's no fun at all. Bottoming out is no fun. The collapse down can be seen as fun, because it's like a roller coaster. You're like, wow, you're on a roller coaster or one of those amusement rides, and you're plummeting down. It's like, oh, this is amazing. What's going on? So we don't even realize that we're collapsing into a hellish situation. It's kind of like we're saying, wow, this is really incredible. What's going on? This is fascinating. This is amazing. It intrigues us. And but once we bottom out, then we say, oh, we're in big trouble. It's kind of, we're up a creek without a paddle. It then hits us like, wow, we're in big trouble. And this is really no fun at all. In fact, this is a disaster. This is terrible. And then once it sinks in, then you say, oh, help. But once you're in free fall, before you bottom out, you don't want any help at all. The world's still full of arrogance and conceit and self-flattery. Saying, no, we're enjoying this. No, we're not depressed. This is great. We're going toward a golden age. Everything is wonderful. and that's what happens. When you start going down to depression, you keep desperately fighting it off by acting as if everything is wonderful. How are you? Oh, man, are you kidding? I'm on top of the world. I know, because I've been there. Been through the entire situation. So very, very tough to fool. A severe price to pay to understand all this. That is for sure. Won't pay it again, but don't need to. you only want to go through depression one time, that is for sure. You don't want to go through a second time. So out of this bottoming out, there will come a spiritual revival, a genuine revival. That is true. Where people get dead serious about it. Some. And some will see it through at some point, somewhere. I don't know what planet, what place, what time, but once the bottoming out takes place, there's a very, very deep reevaluation of the situation, and you start casting aside your idols one after the other, and you don't have any time for idols anymore. These silly idols. The Age of Enlightenment has raised all sorts of silly idols up. There's great people and great progress and all this kind of nonsense. But once you bottom out, you're not interested in those idols anymore. Because you have experienced the internal suffering, the mental suffering, which is beyond description to those who've never experienced it. It's just awful. And you don't have time for idols anymore. You say, I got no time for idols. I got to get well to this, so I don't have time to wait. I can't waste any time on this nonsense. Now the world becomes, nonsense. You recognize nonsense as such, and you get a hold of something that's true, and then you start paying attention to that, and the rest of the stuff you say, this I can't waste my time. Forget it. But right now in this world, it's very rare to see that. Everybody's saying, wow, look over there, look over there, look over there, look at that. Hey, wow, new products. Wow, new version. A new look. What's that new look? Hey, a new fashion trend. A new dance. What's that new dance? Wow, look at that new dance. That's really amazing. Hey, someone's acting like a robot or whatever. Wow, look at that new dance. Look at that new music. There's some new music. Wow, new restaurant. New clothes, new fashion, new hairstyles, new attitude, new social attitudes. We got new social attitude. These people are in and these people are out. In social fashion, social tolerances go in fashion like anything else. The whole world's a fashion show. And so sometimes some fashion is in and then later on it's out. And so there's always changing fashion here. So we can constantly be distracted and avoid really looking within and saying we need to untangle this mess. There's a mess there. We don't really have to untangle it. Ultimately, the remedy's already there. It's just that we fear the continuity issue, and so we practice from practical purposes. We do have to untangle it to the point where we no longer fear the springing back. The springing back of something that's all scrunched up, springing back. So too much theory and not enough practice is a problem. Really a big problem. So in the world, again, there's too much theory, not enough practice. Real spiritual situations involve a lot of practice, a lot of affirmation, strict, a lot of time you have to spend on it. Right now, people aren't willing to do that. That's what I've found out. I've been casting, raising flags up. Hey, here's a channel with affirmations. Here's this. No interest. Because that involves effort. It involves discipline, dedication, and you have to put other stuff aside, the world aside. Say, wait a minute, I don't need to go chasing after rainbows right now. I can't go chasing after rainbows. What is the world doing? Is chasing after rainbows. That's what it's doing. And as people are chasing after rainbows, they say, hey, it's fun, And then when you get tired of chasing after rainbows, say, oh my God, where are we now? We're in some kind of strange landscape, but the landscape's getting very dark. Oh, but there's another rainbow over there. So you go after that rainbow, and then you look around and say, whoa, it's getting kind of rocky here. Dark and cold and rocky, and boy, I don't know. Where am I? And then there's another rainbow. Oh gosh, and you start to go after that one. Then you say, wait a minute, I'm not so sure. You start looking around where you're at, and you say, wait a minute, whoa, this is kind of eerie landscape right here. What happens next? What happens next? You know exactly what happens next. There's another rainbow, and you look up and say, I I don't know. I think I'm just going to sit here and think about my situation just a little bit here, and I'll let this rainbow pass. What happens? What happens next? We all know what happens next. We hear a voice, hi, hi, hey, hi. What? There's someone over there by the rainbow. Say, hey, how are you doing? You know, say, some pretty maiden, okay, is there. Or a group of pretty maidens says, hey, wow, we're having so much fun. He said, what are you doing? Oh, we're chasing rainbows. Hey, you know, talk and everything, and have some just drinks. Here's something, have something to drink, have something to smoke. And there's, oh, you're so wonderful, and they're all so sweet and kind. And then before you know it, and they get up and they say, okay, let's go chase rainbows. And you say, oh wow, yeah, let me go chase rainbows too. See, and off you go again. Except you're being induced now because the maidens, you're really chasing the maidens and not the rainbow. But again, it's transferred onto the rainbow, and you keep chasing the rainbows. And it gets into more and more eerie landscape. More and more, that's called the sirens. The sirens. There's a reason why that term is used out throughout history, the sirens, luring people to their destruction. The siren song. And it's so completely blatantly obvious in play in this world to the unbelievable, off-the-charts extent at this time. It's amazing people are not even commenting about it, but that's exactly what's taking place, is the advertising world. The use of youthful beauty to attract us towards chasing rainbows. A wise society outlaws that kind of stuff. It doesn't allow it. It doesn't allow the use of human depiction in advertising at all. That's a no-no. That's a big, big no-no. Absolutely. Because we see the disaster that's wrought. We will soon find out the disaster that it's wrought. So you absolutely must not, a society that's going towards sanity must not use human beings for the purposes of advertising. Must not, because it's a slippery slope that leads you down the proverbial path, so that you are distracted and you aren't looking around where you're going. And the further you get into eerie landscape, the sexier the attractive the advertising gets. So you're even more distracted, and it has to become more and more and more and more sexy and more distracting. And eventually you get into pornography, severe pornography, then deviant, all sorts of deviance, and all sorts of just, incredible. The world becomes saturated with eroticism and everything, trying to distract us from the landscape that we are continuing to walk into as we're chasing these rainbows. And eventually we end up looking around and we're in just a blackness, severe depression, and then collapse and war and all the troubles. That's exactly what's happened. It's exactly what's happened on this planet. And it's been blatant, completely out in the open, obvious. I've been commenting on it my entire life. Nobody's paid much attention. Because they say, hey, we want to go chase these maidens too, or whatever. We want to be the glamorous girls, the glamour girls. We want to chase the glamour girls, or the whole rigmarole. I say, maybe we can get some of that. Maybe we can get this glamour and all this. And we get led to these products. We get led to materialism. We get led into gadgets, high technology, all this stuff. And we start thinking, hey, we can have it. We can have it all. We can have it all. And then we become spiritual dilettantes. What happens? The sirens introduce spiritual dilettantism to us to reassure us. Because after a while of chasing the sirens, we say, hey, wait a minute. This is getting kind of scary. It's getting very scary. And I'm feeling very depressed, and I have to take all these drugs and medication. What's going on? The sirens say, oh, well, maybe you need some spirituality. And we say, what's that? And they say, oh yeah, and here's some spirituality for you. My guru gave me this, and then all this stuff gets poured out into the world of spirituality, of dilettantism, and then you think that you're okay now because you've got this stuff, and you think, oh, I've got this guru, and I got this teaching, I got this stuff, and blah blah blah, and there's just a ton of it. And then you keep on going, and you keep on going more further and further and further. And that's exactly what's happened in this world. To a T. And of course, it's not me just saying that. There's my teachers know it. Those who are awakened know it. It's an open book. It's an open book. It's the standard operating procedure, modus operandi, of how this dreaming dynamics of the dream go. That's how it goes. So we got saturated in this world with all the advertising and all the faux spirituality, the dilettantism of here's sugar-coated nonsense stuff, and you can have it all too. You can have that, and you can have the trappings of spirituality. You can seem like you've got a little bit. Oh, you're reading this book. Oh, that's really neat. That's really cool. I've seen that so much. And then they say, okay, now am I not more attractive now? The sirens say, hey, look how attractive I am now. Because now you're looking at me in a forgiving, loving manner. Now you're going to follow me even more. That kind of stuff. Now, the real spiritual path is serious business. It's the most serious business in the world. It's more serious than being a doctor. I was in a hospital a couple days ago, just waiting, and I just in all these different places, just viewing, observing what's going on. And wow, those people were serious. I mean, doctors, nurses, everything. They're serious. They're focused, and they know what they got to do, and they got to be on point. Well, the spiritual path is even more serious than that. It's even more on point than that. Your progress has to be brisk, has to be fresh, has to be brisk. You have to be very much dedicated and determined. So it's the highest calling in the world. It's the most important calling. It's all important, and it's very serious business. It is more serious than we can really convey. You can compare it to other stuff. You can't really compare it. You can't compare it. It's incomparable. You can't compare it to any CEO of some corporation, or doctor, head, president. You can't compare it at all. It's way beyond that. Way beyond that. Different. It's something that requires your attention on an ongoing basis, and causing you to shift gears. It's like you're driving down a road in a race car really fast, and it's a very windy road, and you got to be downshifting and upshifting and driving, and the brake and everything. It's like you're driving a path that's fast, that requires tremendous amount of shifting and adaptation and attention. So it's like that. It's more like driving a race car on a mountain path. Or like the Dakar rally, Dakar rally, something like that, a rally through the desert or something. It requires, it's like that, maybe even more. You got to break down, you got problems, mechanic, you got to stop the car, fix it. You get faced with all sorts of difficulties. It's very intense, very intense. And you have to decide, hey, I'm in. And I have to cross the finish line. So, by one way or the other, I'm going to have to do it. And once you bottom out, you realize there's no place else to go. That's it. You got to do it. But usually, before you bottom out, you keep trying to have it all. Keep following the siren song. Of course, why do the sirens do that? Because they're playing God. Saying, look, they're more interested in me than they are in truth. Okay, you wonder what kind of kick do the sirens get out of all this? Why do they lend themselves to this? We've got a planet full of sirens right now on Earth. What do they get out of it? Because they're playing God. They say, hey, look, all these guys are more interested in me than they are in God. I must be greater than God. That's what they get out. It's an ego trip. And they're fascinated by, wow, it's amazing. They're throwing God aside in order to pursue me. How amazing. And of course, the sirens too don't realize that they're on this ego trip, they too are getting into this terrible landscape of depression. But of course, they're under the delusion that their game can go on forever because we'll never lose interest in chasing the sirens. Not true. Not true. Once you bottom out, sirens' days are numbered. Not interested. Waste of time. You realize you've been burned severely. And so their attractiveness will wane. They'll lose their prestige. All this prestige and empowerment, these fashions, cultural, societal fashions at this time, they won't hang around forever, that's for sure. Because once you bottom out, it's then serious business, and you're not interested in any sirens at all, and their whole song and dance, etc. That's passé, absolutely passé. So the sirens are too in a bad situation. They can't play God anymore. Nobody's interested in their games anymore. Nobody's interested in the glitz and the glamour and the showbiz and all that kind of stuff. Forget it. Forget it. They say, I want somebody who can help me so I never bottom out again. That's what people want. And at that point in time, then, real teachers become elevated to the status that is proper and effective. It's a matter of effectiveness. You can't have teachers teaching truth in this world with no status at all, no value seen at all. It's ineffective. It's ineffective. So, we're talking about the list of the 100 most influential people in the world. I look at that list, and there's nobody on there that's important to me at all, other than the religious, spiritual people. But by and large, no, they're not helpful. They're not helpful to me at all. So the values change, and then people say, who's most helpful and influential? It's those who have given us the help towards salvation that are the ones that we would choose. The 100 most influential people in the world right now, I wouldn't take any of them. They have no influence on me. I'm not interested in them whatsoever. The most influential people in history, you put up Buddha, you put up Jesus, you put up Anandamayi, you put up Ramana, you put up the various other teachers, etc., throughout the world. You put them up there. The ones that have shown us the way, the saints and the sages and the great prophets, and those who have brought the discipline is important. Is important. A structured society and a discipline in a way that is conducive to the spiritual path. That's very important. So we'll have a different list, different values, different emphasis will come up once we bottom out. But right now, we are headed towards the bottom. I can see this because I've been through the total depression. As far down as it was possible to go. It went down. It wasn't possible to go any farther down. I hit the bottom. There is a bottom to it, as a matter of fact, which is total mental chaos. That's the bottom to it. Can't go any deeper you can't go any deeper than that. It's impossible. You come to an end. It comes to an end, and then the joyride's over at that point. And then you say, uh-oh, I got a problem. Houston, we have a problem. That is for sure. That is for sure. So, bottoming out happens, and then the turnaround, no places to go but up at that point. And at that point, you become very, very serious and focused, and more and more strict. Don't waste your time. Don't put up with the nonsense. And you want a much more conservative society, much more traditional, conservative, moralistic, ethical society. You want to ban certain things, absolutely. You go away from showbiz, you go away from the entertainment industry, you go away from advertising, you go away from consumerism, you go away from secular humanism, all that stuff. You realize it was a disaster. It led you down. That's what led you down to bottoming out. And it seemed like a joyride at the time. But you know how joyrides end up crashing. You get some people in a car all drunk going 100 miles an hour, it feels like a blast until you hit a telephone pole. Yeah. So the world's kind of like a teenage era, really. So many young people, the attitude of the joyride is so prevalent, really, in a cosmic way. that this planet's on on a joyride, and the crash is coming. And then people say, wow, that was stupid. And they're not going to tolerate fools anymore. So those who want to continue on to be foolish, they have to, go somewhere else. Thank God for that too, because really, why this planet has gotten contaminated so badly, that's interesting question. I'm not exactly sure of the answer at this point. I haven't really focused on that to a large extent of exactly why now at this time this particular planet is going through this travail. And place, insane asylum, place for fools is what it really is right now. It's like one of the explanations is that, of course, the so-called, those dwelling in the so-called higher astral realms, the fourth dimensional delusional realms, are getting pushed out of there, or some kind of thing. They're all falling to earth, as it were, incarnating on this planet now. So in other words, this planet has kind of become a refuge for the refuge for those who are very deranged. But why this planet? I don't know. It just that's what's happening. As the bars are getting closed, all the people from the bars, the biker bars, they head to, where's a bar that's open, and they come down to this earth and say, oh, here's one that's still open, let's go here. And they come in and raise heck here. There's more to it than that. Really, what it is that this planet happens to be very strategic, in a very strategic area, as a confederation of planets expands. I call it the reptilian, but you can call it whatever you want to. But there are confederations of entities in the cosmos, and they have all sorts of trade routes. They have all sorts of areas of influence and kingdoms, and this planet is a very strategic place. It's got a lot of minerals, a lot of resources, a lot of genetics, all this stuff. So it's a very valuable planet for certain agendas. A lot of it has to do with the DNA and the diversification of genetics and that kind of stuff, plus all the water here, all the rare minerals, a lot of stuff. It hasn't been thoroughly exploited and wiped out yet. So that's kind of, maybe you might say, that's the main reason we're in harm's way, this planet, because it hasn't yet been decimated like the other planets have. So the universe, the way it works, it decimates planets. And it's always looking for the next planet. There's a lot of planets out there. So really, I guess those who want to decimate planets can keep on searching for a long time. And so this one happens to be, we're in the way. I guess that's the best way to describe it in our time. And we were warned about this a couple thousand years ago. Jesus told us, hey, you're in the way. Hey, these entities are going to take you over. And it's going to be bad news. So you better prepare for that. Spiritually prepare for that. We were told, we were warned, and now it's happened. It's happened. Exactly as said, and the various signs and stuff are being fulfilled. And so those who are useful to them can remain here and be their dogs and slaves or whatever. Those who are not loyal to, not willing to play by the new rules here, be turned into fertilizer. And those who are really wise will relocate, sidestep the whole situation, and go to a much better place. This planet is not the only dwelling place in the universe, I'll tell you that for sure. Even in this dimension, third dimension, there's many, many, many dwelling places. Fourth dimension, there's many, many, many more dwelling places. Almost incalculable, so many. So, absolutely, relocation is the name of the game at this time. We already know what's going to happen. Bottoming out is bottoming out. It's joyride hits the telephone pole, and there's no surprise there. No reason to go through that. It's not like you have to go through it. At least I don't have to understand what to do. The therapy, therapy. I already know the therapy for it. So I already know the illness. I already know the remedy. So why go through it? It's pointless. I won't learn anything. Just be needlessly traumatized, and that will hurt my viability to help. So that's not a. It's not indicated. So there are those who are capable of helping once the bottoming out process runs its course, who need to maintain their viability so that they can give robust help at the right time. Say, okay, folks, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you the truth, and you're going to listen. And you're going to practice listening. And you're going to be very dedicated to listening to the truth and considering the truth and contemplating it. And you're going to practice the lessons. You're going to practice the affirmations. You're going to go for it. All right? No nonsense here. We're going to go for it. You're going to live a simple life, and you're going to spend, each day is going to be dedicated to going for it, listening to the truth. Just lay down the rules and regulations, and say this is the way it is, and tough love. Let's get it done. And then at that time, people will say, yeah, thank you. I always thank my teachers, for being tough. Say thank you for being so tough and adamant and refusing to buckle. That's great. That's great. Thank you for being so uncompromising. That's exactly what's needed. And today, if you try to teach that way, people say you're a nutcase. You say you're not. Hey, you're old-fashioned. You're not with it. That's not. We don't do that here anymore. We don't do that here anymore. That's not necessary. We got the gadgets. You're just not aware of the technology we have right now. And if you did, you'd realize that we don't need to do that stuff, because we're going to have a workaround on that one. We'll just be able to program ourselves while we go to sleep. Everything will be done for us. It's the magic diet, the magic exercise. We don't have to exercise anymore. We'll just be done for us, and everything will be done for us. Enlightenment robots will do it for us. We don't have to worry about that. And so, that kind of bravado, insane bravado, as they get closer and closer to depression. So as you get closer and closer to the bottom of depression, there's more and more bravado. And people will elect leaders who personify that bravado. We can do anything. We can do anything. Nothing's impossible for us. We can do it. Whatever it needs to be done, we're going to do it. And we're unstoppable. And so people are looking for this kind of bravado instead of real sobriety, and saying, hey, folks, we're in trouble. We have to buckle down and really, really be disciplined here. No more fooling around. No more joyriding. It's over. That's trouble. And people are not willing to have that kind of guidance right now. They're not willing. They say, no. We want to continue on with our joyride. And they're still going to continue on with the joyride. And they don't want to say it's over. So it's tough to bottom out. Look at the Greek crisis. Look at all these bank crises. The people say, no. We want to continue on with the joyride. And even those kind of measures and stuff are half measures. When we talk about the spiritual path, it is a much more profound thing than just simply taking a pension cut. It's a lifestyle. The spiritual path is a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. It's more than a career. It's a lifestyle. And of course, we're all terrorized by, oh God, I don't want to. That's no fun. No fun. It's more than fun. It's more than it's an adventure. It's a greater adventure than anything in this world. I tell you that, by far. I mean, no matter what adventure you take in this world, you can be again riding your motorcycle around the world, and that is nothing compared to the adventure of the spiritual path, where you actually see how you've been deceiving yourself and how you've been trapping yourself, and you actually realize you're going to be free of death, you're going to be free of suffering, you're going to be free of impermanence, you're going to be free of unhappiness. You can actually start to see the vistas. You take this road and you go around and you see a new vista of freedom. That is way, 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 way superior to any sort of adventuring in the world. immeasurably so. So the people, you think, oh, those poor people. Like for me, I've been housebound basically my entire life. And what a, oh, poor person, he's just never had a life. And it's like, wow, what a life I have had. I tell you that is beyond description. Because I'm able to see, I say, wow, see through the tricks of the mind, see the whole situation, the big picture, and say, my gosh, I'm seeing it. Money can't buy it. The richest person in the world, whoever it is, Slim, all the money in the world can't buy that for him. It can't be purchased. It can only come about through your own efforts at clarification. So the ones who make the efforts of clarification are richer than the richest person in the world by far. You can't even compare it. So I feel myself, I know I'm stupendously wealthy in that way. Having seen freedom, having seen how to do it, having seen what salvation is, realizing everybody's going to be saved, realizing nobody will ever be lost, and nobody ever left reality, seeing that, seeing all this key core insight and clarification, seeing it. Money can't buy that. Again, power can't buy it. Worldly power. You can be king of this planet. You can rule the entire planet and have all the money in the planet, etc. None of that can get you this. Cannot purchase it. Cannot get you it. Only the lifestyle, the spiritual path of really living it, of really being dedicated to it. Only that can give it to you. That's it. So it's the most loving thing in the world to tell people they should do this, because you're showing them where their riches are. They're going to be enriched, incredibly enriched by doing that. Whereas the external stuff, chasing after the world, and chasing rainbows, and chasing after sirens, and the siren song of the world, and the flesh, and all that, you're going to end up very impoverished. At the end of your life, you say, my God, what did I waste my life on this stuff for? It's terrible. I didn't get anything. I got nothing out of it, really. It was just all superficial sawdust, it's nothing. But if you live the spiritual path, you will say, my gosh, I got such incredible riches. I don't have to ever incarnate again. I never have to. I'm through with the flesh. I have no desire for any more fleshy experiences at all, because I realize what they all lead to. They just all spiral down to death, and there's no necessity for it. I see this continuity problem has been solved. It's always been solved. I was ignorant of it. I'm no longer ignorant. I forgive God because I know God made the exact right response to my attempt to change reality. Everything is flawless. Everything is perfect. I'm finished with the whole thing. It's not, no more fear of God, and it's over. Those are rich, because then what do you get? You get reality. You awaken. You accept reality as it is, and that's infinite riches, endless, infinite riches. So, a little bit of suffering here in the world, a little bit of effort, a little bit of strain, or we think it's a lot, but compared to what we get, it's like nothing. Like, wow, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. And of course, those who want to prevent that, they try to marginalize any of those who have actually succeeded, and point out those who haven't succeeded. Say, now listen to them. Don't listen to those who have succeeded. Listen to those who have not, but are yet claiming that they have. Say, I don't claim that I have succeeded at this point. I'm just saying that I've come a long ways, but have not yet had the vision of oneness, accepted the vision of oneness. But certainly I will at some point. And at that point, then I will say that I have. But there's so many in the world who pretending to be high teachers. They're not. Very few high teachers in this world right now. The idea of integrating your life, you have to integrate it, means having it all. No, once you have the vision of oneness, you're overflowing with bliss, and you realize that the nothingness of dreams. You're not worried about trying to get more of nothing. The world is seen as just a nothing, but it's a beautiful nothing temporarily. So to solve the continuity problem, it's a beautiful nothing. It's a blissful nothing, but it's still not. It's seen as nothing. It's like shadow. You look at the shadow and say, oh my God, it's a beautiful shadow. And that reminds us of reality. And so we then are willing to set it all down, but not pursuing worldly experiences, worldly power, influence in that kind of way. Not trying to have it all. So there's a lack of that. And there's a lot of spiritual activity in the world. Setting up retreats, setting up power structures, setting up the new world religion. There's a lot of activity. But it's all about worldly power and worldly influence of who's going to have the power and the juice going forward. What kind of institutions, who have the power in those institutions. And it's a power struggle that's going on. Spirituality power struggle of who gets to play God more than others, who gets to take on that role. There's all sorts of acting roles are being sorted out as new actors come on the stage, say we want our time to play this role, etc. It's just more of the same. It's more of the same. It's more of the same. It's more of the same. Real religions, real teachings are fresh and potent in the moment. They're not stale. They're not ossified. They're not dogmatized. There's a punch to it right now. Has to be kept fresh. That's why there's lineages of teachers. There's long lineages of gurus and teachers that have realized the truth, and they keep it fresh. They keep it potent. And so, yes, there's a lot of spiritual activity in the world. There's a lot of those who are trying to mimic spiritual truth, trying to pretend that they've got it, and then set up teaching situations, institutions, all this stuff, monetize it, copyright it, basically set up power structures around it. But that's not it. That's not it. You have to persevere to the end until you accept the vision of oneness. That's it. And until you've done that, you're still very much humble on the path. And sure, you can give encouragement like I do, but it's just encouragement. I don't have a bureaucracy. I don't have a power structure. I'm not selling books. I'm not selling DVDs. I'm not setting up shop. None of that stuff. Just walking along with others, saying, let's keep going. Come on, let's keep going. It's just like when you're on a hike, and the hikers have to help each other. Get tired and say, here, I'll say, hey, let me take some of the load here if you're tired, because I'm feeling some energy right now. I can handle it. And then other times maybe I need some help, and it's like that. It's kind of walking along. We're like a group of people hiking along a tough path, and we need to keep reassuring one another. Come on, let's keep going. Let's keep going. We can do this. We can do this. It's more like that. In the event that the vision of oneness dawns, and there's a different story, then I can of course come on and say, hey, this is what's happened. So now I can be effective in some more profound ways. But until that point, no. One has to stay humble and helpful, and keep working at it. There's many that are in that boat, that maybe they're far along the path but not finished yet, and we just need to reassure ourselves, come on, let's keep working at this, keep grinding away. Don't fall prey for the dilettantism which is being marketed in this world. Don't fall prey to that. Keep up your discipline. Keep up your insights. Keep up your breakthroughs. Discard all this stuff. The real success is very profound, very blissful. We have those who have shown us that this is what it is. It's bliss. Your mind has to be rooted in truth, not in lies, in order to experience this bliss. We're not trying to manufacture blissful experiences. No. Not looking for peak experiences. We're not looking for that. That's not the bliss we're looking for. We're looking to put our roots in truth, and then the fruits of that tree, then the mind that is rooted in truth, the fruits of that tree is bliss, and it's a ever flowering tree. The flowers are ever blooming with fragrance. They don't have cycles. So one remains blissful in all situations. There's nothing that disturbs that bliss. So that's what we're going for. And we're in the springtime of 213, which is going to be a very interesting spring for sure. We've had the Arab Spring in, was it 211? What kind of spring is it going to be now? Could be quite surprising for many. Could start, well, we will start heading towards bottoming out. That's what's going to happen. Banks are going to probably seize, what I've seen, banks are going to seize power, all the power in the world. I saw that in a dream. I was overlooking the vast, great megatropolis, with suburbs and city center, a huge area up on a hill looking out over it, and suddenly all the lights went out, went pitch black. It was at nighttime. Pitch black. I said, oh my God, what happened? Some incredible power outage happened. Whoa, this is like freaking me out. And then I looked, I said, wait a minute, no, I see a little light there, light there. A couple buildings have these neon signs. And then I said, whoa, what are those buildings? I look far in the distance in the city center, way in the distance. And there's a lot of buildings had light there, but everything else was total power outage. And then I said, what are these buildings that have this light, the power to power their lights? And it was banks. All these various, and the reason why the city center had more, it was a financial district of this big, powerful, huge city. A lot of banks there, and so they still had the power in order to power the light. Have the lights on, which was symbolized having power. So what's going to happen is the banks are going to seize power. They'll have the power in the world, and the rest of the people will have no power. Only the banks will have power. The bankers will have power. That's what's going to happen. And we're seeing that in Cyprus. We're starting to see how it goes. And that was a trial run, test run. And so that's not going to be any fun for people. And the banks will say, listen, this is how we're going to do it now. They're basically going to dictate to the people that this is a new world order. This is how we're going to do commerce now. This is how we're going to arrange it, because we can't keep functioning in the old way. And people are going to feel very, very depressed at that time, for sure. That's goodbye freedom. And of course, those who want to play God will think, hey, this is great. This is fun. Let's come here and do that. But a lot of people say, hey, we don't want to follow this whimsical, stupid game. Playing God. We want the real God. We don't want some fake actors and actresses playing God. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so here it comes. I don't know exactly when, but we're headed right into it. You know, on a roller coaster ride, and you go up to the top, and you start go over the top. You look down, you see where the track leads you. You know, that's where you're going. That's where you're going. And wow, well, of course, a lot of people know this. And some people get depressed. They act differently. They act differently. You've seen it, the acting out in the world already of very depressed people shooting up situations. Very bad, because they're super depressed. They're super confused. And again, that is because the breakdown of religious and spiritual traditions on the planet. By design, breaking that down. The age of enlightenment is the age of depression, breaking all that down, demonizing it, stigmatizing it. People who spend their time doing that have been stigmatized, and the whole thing has been stigmatized. And you say, hey, you're missing out on so much. You're missing out on all this grandiosity of the flesh. You should get into that. And so that leads people into severe depression. And everyone acts it out differently, but some of the ways people are acting it out now are very violent ways, which is very regrettable. But that's how many act it out, and others act it out in other different ways of just becoming, some women act it out in becoming super promiscuous and sexually aggressive, become just, flip out that way. Very provocative, become very provocative and sexually aggressive. And we're seeing that in the world too now, very much so. That's a result of severe depression. Severe depression. The way that women are acting in the world now is because they're severely depressed. Normal women don't act that way at all. Not at all. Much more naturally reserved and sober and focused. And the way the women of the world are today it's indications of very severe underlying depression. Same with the men. Same with the men. And at some point, that gets contagion builds up. Contagion builds up, and people start just flipping out, and they think that's as normal. They don't realize it's a desperate ploy to avoid bottoming out. And when things collapse, people you realize the instability of depression becomes evident. And they're no longer able to contain their acting out. Gets out of hand, and they're easily swept up into demagogic movements. Easily. That's another sure sign of depression. Getting swept up in demagogic movements. Like Italy got swept up by Mussolini. Germany got swept up by Hitler. They're very depressed. People were super depressed at the time. Like in Germany, the Weimar Republic, the collapse of finances and hyperinflation, and the country was in chaos after World War I, just in chaos. And people were super depressed. And then along came a charismatic demagogue, and they said, hey, here we are. And they got swept up into it. They didn't use their better judgment. And the world has become now super vulnerable to that. Super vulnerable to that. So what do we do? Relocation is what we do. That's why I'm reassuring relocation is the answer. Relocation for now is the answer. It's not a permanent thing. It doesn't have to be permanent. Some people might say, hey, we don't want to come back or whatever, but it's up to each one. But on the short term, it's advisable. As we go to this bottoming out process, the world's going to get really wild. Not in a good way. Very, very nasty way. I live in a place, I live in an amazing place, and it's not pretty. It's not pretty. You can see the desperation in people. Women are getting very desperate because they realize they're losing their power. They're getting super depressed. It's not working for them. Having it all is not working for them. And they're getting more and more desperate, and that's never pretty. And they just become like they act like they're drunk. I mean, it's amazing. They act like they're on drugs, like they're drunk, that they're just on a power trip. And they say they're like they're goddesses, and nobody could possibly but do anything but serve them, you know. And it's sad. It's sad because you don't want to puncture their illusions and say, hey, you know, you're just ridiculous. But they feel so authoritative and so in control and so irresistible and so powerful and all this stuff, and you just say, wow, you know, you're just caught in this dream, you know, caught up in this maelstrom, you know. Wow. You find out what people are like when they have a lot of money. In this area, I mean, the people have just an obscene amount of money, and that's when they start putting on the airs and feeling that they're large and in charge. But there's an underlying franticness, you know. You see the people go into markets and stuff. It's like, wow, I just went into a market I haven't been into a long time, downtown, where the beautiful people really shop. And wow, it's an eye opener. My God, you could feel the franticness there, franticness. Like, we don't have enough yet, you know. We gotta have it all. We just don't quite have enough. We gotta get more, and we'll do anything to get more. And we just have to get it. We just almost got it. We gotta get more. It's like this frantic greed and acquisitiveness and desperate attractiveness and trying to attract more. And at some point, it becomes what do you call it? Venal and predatory. Very predatory. There's a very predatory feeling. Like they're hunting. You know, the huntresses here are amazing. They're hunting down more because they don't have spiritual discipline. They're on a foundation of depression. They realize that they're sitting on a foundation of depression and confusion. They're getting more and more confused, and the more they confuse they get, the more intense the hunt becomes, you know. And it's like the look is like, you know, I'm gonna get it by hook or by crook. I am going to get it. Nobody's going to stop me, and that becomes supremely unattractive, you know, supremely unattractive. And the more unattractive it gets, the more desperate they become. There's a vicious circle. At some point, men just say, wow, you know, hey, this is over. This, forget it, you know. You're gonna work me to death, you know. And you just too obvious. You just want more power, and just, you know, cracking the whip. Come on, guys, make another $1 billion for me, because I need more. And that's what it is. Very, very, very ugly situation, actually. The whole world's caught up in that. There's a little slice, microcosm of the macrocosm here. Very instructive place. We have now blow-dry bars where ladies go in and just simply have their hair blow-dried and, you know, give it a little refresher during the day to look more attractive and more empowered and all that kind of stuff. And so many salons and spas and all this kind of thing. It just mushrooms out of more and more boutiques, and everyone's, you know, dressing to kill, you know, to kill. The hunt is on, the kill is on, you know. They got to bag more. As a man, you feel like, oh my God, I'm like in a war zone here. Really, I got to get out of here. So that way I felt like, well, I got to get out of here. I'm in a crossfire here. My God, this is a hunting zone here. I said, look, get out of this place. Wow. At this time in the world, men are the hunted. They're hunted. And they're hunted for their ability to get more, to be more aggressive, to be alpha males, to be able to extract more from the world. Get more, get more. So it's a scary scene. This is happening all over the world. The religion of having it all is a scary thing. It's an ugly thing. Very ugly. And you're fed constant indoctrination that there's something drastically wrong with you if you are not caught up in this. If you're not stunned by the beauty of the women of the world, if the women are becoming incredible goddesses, you're not stunned by it, then there's something severely wrong with you. And you look and say, well, this is incredibly ugly, this is horrible. This rapacious, there's this rapaciousness, like birds of prey, there's nothing wonderful about that. My gosh, it's awful. And then you're told, indoctrinated, that you're terrible for feeling that way. You're terrible for being wise. There's something drastically, insidiously wrong with you, and you need to be re-educated. That's what's happening in the world. In the workplace, oh my gosh, if in the workplace, if you don't act like, if you're not bedazzled by the incredible power and competency of the women of the world, it's like there's something you're not only you're not with it, there's something fundamentally wrong with you because you're not following their lead, right? And their lead is get more, rapaciousness. Say we must have it all because throughout the discipline, the spiritual discipline, it used to be a very high calling was to be a renunciate, a nun. And there are many nunneries all over the planet, actually. Women renunciates, so many, very high calling, highest calling, actually. And they would, give up all the tawdry glitter of the world. They'd wear a big habit, covering their hair and covering most of their body. Their form was gone, and they would live in a cloistered life with prayer and contemplation. That was a very high calling, highest calling, greatly respected. Now, that's seen like as the work of the devil. That anyone who suggests that is seen as must be the devil itself. It's like, how could anyone possibly think that a woman could find fulfillment in that way? Well, that's the highest, the best, because it leads to freedom from identifying with form, identifying with gender, identifying with form-based identity. It leads to bliss. It leads to waking up in reality and realizing your spirit. That's what it leads to. So it's fabulous way, fabulous. It's super smart. It's right use of time, right use of mind. It's realizing you can't have it all. You can't have both truth and lies. You have to choose one or the other. You have to choose where your riches are going to be found, because trying to have both leads to severe depression. So the world has basically done away with the cloistered life for men and women. Men are still doing it to some extent, but for women, it's seen as an incredible repression, incredible disempowerment, an incredible infringement on their spirit of women, the spirit of having it all. Whereas actually it's just the opposite. It's a great elevation, great opportunity, supreme blessing to be able to not have to put up with all the nonsense of the fleshy life and lead a contemplative life. That's resulted in a lot of success. There have been many women who are enlightened, actually. They free themselves from delusion because of this lifestyle. But at this time, that lifestyle is utterly derided. Utterly derided. It's seen as having no value whatsoever, of being drastically delusional. To anyone who want to choose that must be just an incredible loser. Same with the men. Same with the men. And what's taking its place is, hey, we can do it all. We can go to yoga class. We can find a guru. We can do a little something this and a little something that, and take some trips and some retreats and integrate that with the rest of our lives. We can have 3-4 homes. We can have all our car. We can have everything, that we want. We have it all. We can have it all, and nobody can tell us otherwise. And as a matter of fact, we can redefine what enlightenment is. We can redefine what the goal is. We can decide what we want reality to be. We can decide that this is what the goal is, and we can redefine the goal. And we're all powerful. We can simply decide what is true. What is God? We can redefine everything, just whatever we want to define it as. We have the power of definition. And the idea is that having the power of definition is supposedly making everyone happy. Wrong. Because God defines what truth is. God's not a male, God's not a female, God's a spirit. Idea, spirit, formless. God decides what truth is. God decides what reality is. It's already set, it's been set, always set. And so we don't have any power of defining what truth is. That's all in dreams. That's all hypotheticals. But people now are frantically deluded here, thinking that they are going to reach the ability that they're going to be able to define for themselves what is true. and anybody who disagrees with them, put them in the Iron Maiden, guillotine or something. Yeah. And they think that's empowerment. Hey, I can get rid of those who have a different definition, and therefore my definition will prevail, and therefore I'll be happy. And so there's these formulas. We invent these formulas for happiness, which are just completely crazy. And yet the people of the world are following these crazy formulas. I can attract all happiness to me. Nobody can stand in my way. And I can get whatever I want. It's witchery is what it really is. There's a term for it. Medieval term, but it's an accurate term, is witchery. Casting spells, magic, psychic, all this stuff, influencing, manipulation of energy and influencing and advertising, all this stuff. We have a world of witches and warlocks really on this planet right now. That is a fact. And that doesn't benefit anybody. So what happens is they lead the world into depression. That's what happens. They lead the world into collapse. They lead the world into war. And they lead the world into bottoming out. Always. Always the same. Goes around and around and around like a wheel in a rat cage here. Women have just as much capability as enlightenment as men. Absolutely. When they decide to be dedicated to it. When they decide that this is their life. This is their life. They don't have any more ability. They don't have any special inside track or anything like that. The idea of women's intuition has got nothing to do with truth or spirituality at all. It's been elevated as if somehow that it's closer to truth or something. It's not. It's got nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. That's just a kind of psychic rapidity. That's quick on the uptake, flexibility, and be quick and notice stuff and notice things and process them and stuff like that. And it's kind of like saying that one computer has a higher processor speed than another, so it can do stuff faster and oh yeah, sure, but it has nothing to do with truth, enlightenment, anything like that. What happens is there's a tendency when you have a faster processor speed to think that you can do more stuff. In other words, you can have it all. You open more programs, you open more windows, and the whole thing gets bogged down severely. You take on more than you can chew. So sometimes having a slower processor speed is not such a bad thing, actually. Which is why more men haven't been enlightened than women, because there's less of a tendency to think they can do it all. Man says, wow, I really don't think I can do it all. I'm going to have to specialize in something. And then they specialize in spiritual path they say, okay, let me not try to do it all. Let me just do this. Where with a faster processor speed, there's a tendency to think, you know what, I can do this path, but I can also do all this. I can also raise a family, have all these grandchildren. I also have a grand life. I can have all these friends. I can do all this stuff. Plus, I can also do this other thing because I got such a fast processor speed. But it doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way. Because the two cancel each other out. But how do you explain to people it doesn't work? No matter how much you explain it doesn't work, they still think, well, you're just saying that because you don't have a high enough processor speed. If you did, you could do it all. And they don't get it. They don't get it. So they have to learn the hard way, unfortunately. Bottoming out. But there's some people who basically have others bottom out for them. And then those other people say, hey, I'm not working for you anymore. And they just keep on trying to exploit others. And it takes them a lot longer before they finally bottom out. They just keep on exploiting as long as they possibly can. And those who have bottomed out and then taken the spiritual path, generally what happens is they're exploited by, severely exploited by those who don't who want it all, and they bottom out, and they say, wait a minute, I can't do this anymore, and then they take the spiritual path. That's generally what happens. That's what happened in my case. Absolutely. I was under the influence of the goddess, of the muse, who wanted to have it all. That whole idea of the feminine being able to have it all, I was bullied by that. Very severely bullied, and because I had abilities of concentration and dedication and perseverance and intensity and all this stuff, I seemed very useful to them to try to make the world a better place and a more attractive place. And the idea of we can have it all here. We can have these wonderful parties and music and everything, plus all the spirituality, plus all this stuff. And so I kind of had the ability to make sort of spiritualized music that was neither this or that. It was kind of like a blend of spirituality plus the world. In other words, sort of a synthesis of it, which represented, the idea of having it all. I was very good at that, so I got exploited, severely exploited, and bullied into trying to do that. And then in trying to do both, I ended up bottoming out in severe depression, total mental chaos. And then I said, hey, this doesn't work. And then I got help from real teachers. Those who understood the whole goddess thing, the whole trying to do it all thing, and who were not fooled by that in the slightest bit. It's a very tough thing to do. It's a very tough thing to get free of the muse. Most people die. Well, like great artists usually collapse and fall apart into severe depression and chaos, etc. Those who are trying to do that, most artists are trying to blend the two. Generally, those on the spiritual path don't engage in artistic pursuits. That's frowned upon because it's a very, very, very slippery slope, actually. The further I've gone, the less interested I am in producing anything artistic. Because I realize that it gets used, how you get easily pulled into the orbit of the goddess, the sirens who want to tell you can have it all. And they say, hey, we got a better plan, you can have it all. Or we're helping the other plan, we're part of it, we're co-redeemers. We're just adding something to it, we're balancing it out, we're making it fuller and all this nonsense, Now God's plan has always been in place. It's always the non-judgment, perfect non-judgment on dreams has always been there. There's never a single dream that wasn't there for. And that is the plan. There's nothing more than that. Just accepting the non-judgment of God upon all what-ifs. It's always been there. There's no other plan. There's no co-plan. There's no making it better. There's nothing like that. It's just accepting what is. God's already dealt with the whole situation, concurrent with it arising. That's all we need to accept. It's already been dealt with. It's not our dealing. We didn't have to deal with it. God dealt with it. So there's no two plans, there's no co-redeemers, none of this nonsense. What's being sold is having it all, having both truth and lies, having two homes, one in dreams and one in reality. That's what's being sold, which is essentially a delaying tactic to remain in reality and work on trying to turn that into a paradise. And in order to keep people hooked into that, there has to be a flavor of spirituality to the art and the culture, etc. So we don't realize that we're going into very nasty territory. We keep looking, oh, the music's very spiritual, so I shouldn't worry. You know, there's a flavor of spirituality to it, so I don't need to worry. That's what happens. So I bottomed out, and then I said, wow, this is terrible. I got deceived severely. This is horrible. I knew I was being deceived, but I couldn't figure out how to I was cowed by it, you know. I couldn't figure out how to get free of it. It was awful, terrible. I kept saying no. I was bullied, you know, not more than deceived, bullied into it, threatened, pressured and threatened and terrorized into trying to use my artistic ability to provide material that blended, you know, truth and lies, and blended the hypothetical and reality, and tried to make the notion that we can have it all seem more and more attractive. Got bullied into that. By the goddess, of course. By the sirens, of course. They're the real bullies, to tell you the truth. You don't know what bullying is until you get bullied by the sirens and the goddess, by the feminine. They're super bullies. Vicious bullies, as a matter of fact. Worst bullies there are. And it's super tough to stand up to them. And so you keep going because you're too bullied, too intimidated by it, and then you end up bottoming out, and then you end up asking for help, getting real help, and finding real teachers, and then you find out what the game is, and the jig is up, and then eventually you accept the vision of oneness, and that essentially frees you from any more cycles of birth and death. That's for sure. And you're not bullied at that point. I still can be bullied, for sure. Not as easily as before, but it still can. And I'm aware of just how severely the world is being bullied. The world is being bullied by the feminine. Those are the real bullies. The men are dilettantes when it comes to bullying. They're very clumsy. It's very easy to dismiss that. It's the women, it's the feminine that is extraordinarily adept at bullying. We had cats here in the house, and we've always had a lot of cats, and male cats, female cats, and who ruled the roost? The female cats, of course. And the men cats are way bigger, way stronger, but oh boy, the female cats, they made sure that the male cats were terrified of them. How? Simply by going up and scratching them in the face and the nose for no reason at all, just to scare the heck out of them. And they constantly did that just to let them know that who's in charge. And the male cat said, what did I do? I didn't do anything. And then the female says, well, you bother me. Yeah, I got it. Me says, I'm in charge. I get the food first. You wait on me. You stay out of my way. And, my gosh, it's just vicious. Scratch the heck out of their faces just to keep them in line. So, yeah, the feminine has claws, very sharp, nasty claws, and you get scratched like crazy if you don't stay in line. And work on your nervous system and intimidation at a very, very intense level. So, that's what's happening in the world, and the men are they're so intimidated, it's ridiculous. So completely cowed, it's unbelievable, and they'll do whatever they're told to do. They'll do whatever they're told to do. If they're told to make war, they'll make war. Guaranteed. They're not in control anyway. The men are not in control. They can't say no to the feminine at this point in the world. The feminine again is saying we can have it all, and anyone who says we can't is a vicious liar. That's what they're saying. Which is just another way of saying they're terrified of God because they're ignorant. There's a severe ignorance there that God, the continuity problem, has always been solved. There's never actually a problem at all. Never been an instant that wasn't covered by God's non-judgment. Never has been. Once you see that, different story. Different story. You say, wow, I don't need any of this nonsense. I don't need it all. I only need reality. I don't need hypotheticals. I really don't. It's not necessary. But to those who don't realize that, they feel they have to have hypotheticals. So they have to thwart any attempt to get free of hypotheticals. And they feel totally justified to being wickedly vicious in what they do. And they're bullying to bring that about. They feel totally justified and entitled to that. Entitled to that. So, I mean, men right now in the world are just attack dogs, basically. They've been turned into dogs. That's true. They've just been turned into dogs and attack dogs. And basically, when the women say, hey, attack, they'll attack. When they say growl, they growl. When they say bark, they'll bark. When they say attack, they'll attack. And the poor dog doesn't want to, because the dog, you know, dogs don't really want to get in dog fights. They get themselves chewed up to pieces. But they're too afraid. They've been conditioned to do so. So when you have a situation where it seems like having it all is slipping away, there'll be attack. There'll be attack. You know, we're limited resource on this planet. I mean, the superpowers are lining up. Russia, United States, EU, China. You know, you got India and Pakistan. You got these Japan. You got Korea. You got all these players in the world, and they all want more. They all want more, and they're driven. Really, this world is a matriarchy now. It's being driven by the feminine, and this desire for having it all. They want to have it all. They want to have everything. They want to be seen as enlightened spiritual beings, plus totally satisfied fleshy beings too. They want the fleshy being to be completely satisfied, and then plus the spiritual being completely satisfied too, which are ridiculous ignorance, ridiculous ignorance. So that's the situation we're at in the world, and don't expect the men to say no. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know, I used to have this ridiculous, naive expectation that men could say no, just because I could say no. But that's based on a lifetime of effort and great help from super teachers and the Holy Spirit. And without that, there's no way. There's no way. Even now, it's difficult to say no. Very difficult. I don't even know if I can. You know, it's that difficult. So the men of the world, forget it. They're not going to say no. They're pushovers. Which, again, is very hard for me to take that. The seeing how men have just collapsed and such pushovers is a shameful thing, you know. Very shameful thing. It's hard to process that. It's hard to process it. And I have to process. I've been processing it for a long time, realizing that what we are, we're not men or women, we're spirit. We're mind, we're spirit, and we use the mind, and this is all delusion, etc., etc. But it's difficult, shameful thing, very shameful. And you keep thinking that men are going to wake up and say, wait a minute, this is, we're not going to stand for this. We had a Greek cat, a male that was just constantly being attacked by the female for no reason. Very loving cat. And he put up with it. He put up with it. Finally, one day, he said, "Hey, enough of this stuff." And he you know, pushed back, and the female cat was completely freaked out. Completely freaked out. He didn't attack her. He just put up his paw and said, "Hey, stop it." Female cat completely freaked out. Said, "What are you doing? You can't do that." She went haywire. And just like says, "You can't do that. You can't do that to me." And the male cat said, "Hey, you know, you're pushing me too far. Stop scratching me. You know, this is ridiculous." So he said no. He said no. Female cat just said, "You're crazy. Something wrong with you." And she didn't change her ways. And one time he chased her in the corner and said, "Hey, knock it off. Stop it. It's too much." And she just again didn't change. So there's some men can say, "Hey, no," but it's not going to change the females at this point. It will not change them. Absolutely not. That's one thing I've seen also. Absolutely not. Because what men say in this world doesn't matter anymore. They're supposed to be servants now. And you know, servants, what they say, they're supposed to be seen, not heard. So the whole world is based on men as are now servants of the feminine. And what they say is gibberish. It doesn't matter what you say. I've noticed that, like when I speak up, it doesn't matter. Who are you? You know, who are you to interject like this? You're not in charge. Your job is to take orders now, or and obey. So it's a shameful thing all the way around, really, the whole situation. And there's a desire to bring dignity to it and to shed the shackles, but it's not going to happen. And that's the hardest part, realizing no, it's not going to happen. But again, form is neutral. There's nothing to it really. So we have to get over our shame and embarrassment to say, my gosh, how shame, how badly the world is going to behave. We have to just somehow get over that, which is tough. Which is why relocation helps so much, is you're not necessarily directly paying attention to it. It's like a severe dog fight. Your dog gets in a dog fight, you're so embarrassed. You say, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed for my dog. Look, my dog is in this terrible dog fight. And it's like that. It's that feeling like, wow, you should be better behaved than that, dog. Why did you do that? It's such a reflection. It's a reflection on me or something. And that's terrible. So, so I feel like this world's reflection on me and my efforts here, and then to see the world go to hell like this is a shameful thing. It's embarrassing and shameful. Like, wow, I had no influence whatsoever. I guess it ultimately gets back to us saying, wow, I had no influence whatsoever. I completely failed to stop the situation. I couldn't influence people, which is really very humbling. Very humbling. Wow. That takes an enormous spiritual clarity to accept that. Enormous. And ultimately, we need that to relocate. We need that humility and realize this. Hey, we can't do a thing about this situation right now. We don't have the influence. That's ultimately the tough one, the stumbling block. That's the ultimate stumbling block right there. Boil it all down, and you have this embarrassment. It's like, let's say you're a great piano teacher and your students have no interest, and they're wild, they want to go joyriding and all this stuff. They never practice, and so you have a recital and the students don't even show up, or they show up and they play terrible, and everybody's listening. Oh my gosh, like, wow, what kind of teacher is that their students play that bad, wow. And the teacher's mortified, mortified. It's like that. I'm mortified, that I've been so ineffectual here. It's terrible. But the teacher must not commit suicide. It's like the piano teacher is mortified. Sometimes our artists will commit suicide when their students show them up that way and expose them to their teaching's been completely ineffective. The artist will go jump off a bridge. That's happened many times. Teachers take it seriously. And when their students fail, it's like a reflection on them. But in this case, it's you have to realize it's not. It's a reflection on the arrogance of the students. It's not a reflection on the teacher. And there are certain times where people can't be taught when they're getting close to bottoming out. They're not accessible to teaching. I don't care what kind of teacher. You got the best teacher possible in this world this time, and it would not work. It would not help much. Ineffectual. So there has to be that realization. And I'm helped by my teacher saying, hey, they say, hey, even I can't help now. Don't take it so. Don't be so hard on yourself. I can't help either. It has to be. We have to let the situation bottom out. Then we'll help. Because remember, everyone has free will. So if they want to continue in whimsy, there's nothing you can do. They're just playing you for a fool, basically playing the teachers for a fool. And at some point, the teacher has to realize they've been played for a fool, and say, okay, I will. They think, wow, I'll never be able to help because now the student knows that they played me for a fool, and I know it, so they'll never listen to me again. But I'll tell you what, once you bottom out and you see the mental chaos, and you've experienced that for a second, for an instant, then you sing a different tune. You're very open for true help, and you don't care about that you made a fool of a teacher before. You say, hey, at least you saw through that. You say, hey, now you know what it's all about. Good. Okay, please help me. You sing a different tune. So for a while, those students will be celebrating like, we drove the teachers off this planet. Look how awesome we are. Later they'll sing a different tune. So don't be too worried about these headstrong, arrogant people of the planet right now. They will sing a different tune soon enough. And that is for sure. I guarantee you that. They'll be very contrite and truly apologetic and say, hey, you know what? I was an idiot. They'll say I was a total fool, total idiot. I just didn't, I was in the grip of insanity. And so I hope you don't, hold that against me. And we'll say, no, not at all, not at all. We understand exactly what took place. So they will beg forgiveness, say, please don't hold that against me. I was insane, temporary insanity. They'll say, yeah, that's true, that's right. But that's okay because we sidestep it all and we're not bothered by it. So it's no worries, no worries. So in order to maintain viability for future teaching and help, it's important to sidestep the situation so you don't get beat up too bad. Otherwise, the students will say, oh my God, I really brutalize the teacher, and they may hold that against me, so they'll be afraid to ask for help. But if you sidestep a situation and you're not brutalized, and they'll say, hey, I didn't brutalize them because they sidestep it, so I got confidence that they can help me, that they don't, there's no hard feelings there really. That's important. It's very important to maintain that level of trust, because people are going to be coming for help, that is for sure. Very soon, people are going to say, my God, I really need help. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you before, but I really need help now. I'm willing to listen. And you say, okay, no worries, no worries. I just had to, see exactly what's going on. I realized I couldn't really help you, but, now I can help you. So sidestepping is important, super important. It's the right step to help, to be effective. Very important that teachers don't stay in this world and be brutalized by the situation. Made fools of, be made fools of. The world's just, you can feel it, my God. It's like a woman playing a man for a fool, She just toys with him, plays him for a fool, just plays on his emotions, all this stuff. And then she dumps him destitute and penniless and said, what a fool, and just laughs. Look what I did to you. I'm so much more clever than you are. I played you for a fool. Like the man says, wow, I'm never going to trust again. Crushed, and then later on, the woman goes asking for help, and she goes, oh, I can't ask him because look how I played him for a fool. He'll never forgive me for that. Wow, he never, it's like that. So you don't want to be played for a fool in this world. As a teacher, you don't want the students to play you for a fool, which is why I don't have any students. I don't have any of that. It's because at this time, that's more or less what would happen. Be played for a fool. Be ineffectual and all that kind of stuff. It's better at this time to wait until people have bottomed out and then they're really serious about help. At that point, then effectiveness comes. And they can look to you and say, hey, you were smart enough to sidestep the situation. Wow, that's really profound. Very, very great clarity there, great clarity. And then they'll trust you. They'll say, okay, I trust you because you saw the whole picture, obviously. You saw my temporary insanity and you stepped out of the way. You knew I was inaccessible and you weren't stupid enough to try and, help me out at that point, because I would have played you for a fool. So now I see you're very, very wise, and I trust you to give me help and discipline, etc. Please help out. That's how it works. So there are times that you need to step out of the way, get out of Dodge, just for the sake of future effectiveness and for the sake of not being ineffective in the future. So we're at that time. It takes a lot of clarity, it takes a lot of wisdom, and I'm just passing this on to those who have ears to hear it. Ears to hear it, and they can say, I kind of recognize this. Yeah, I kind of see what's being talked about. Very important. Just recuperating today from severe hard work. I'm still on the edge of collapse, just because I know the world, what's coming, and nervous about it. It's tough because when you see the problems, you want to help. Very tough. It's better to relocate, better be sequestered, better to retreat, better to take refuge. And of course people will mock you, of course. They say, see, I told you were just a fake all along. Who are you? You're just a fake. You're leaving. You can't help anybody. You're a fake. They'll mock you like that. So I'm trying to give help to those who will leave, relocate, to say that I understand the situation perfectly well, and my teachers understand it way better than I do. Which you might say, I can't say I understand it perfectly well, because then I couldn't say they understand it more than I do. I understand it very well. They understand it perfectly well, and you're not going to be mocked there for relocating. No way. It's just those that want to play for a fool, want to go on a power trip now. They want to lord it over the teachers. Say that you don't know anything. You can't help me at all. You're an idiot. You're incompetent. They want to crush you, permanently crush you, so that you never ever are capable of leading them to truth. So they can think they can have it all. They don't need truth. They can have this hybrid. So they want to mock you. They want to really severely mock you and rub your face in the dirt and scorn you and say, ha, look at you. You're destitute, in the gutter, dying. You can't help anybody. You can't even help yourself. What a loser. That's what they want. That's exactly what they want. And of course we can't give that to them, because later they'll sing a different tune and say, oh my gosh, look how terribly I mocked you. I can't trust you now, because you may hold it. I was so vicious to you. You're certainly going to hold that against me in some way. Which is, to some extent they might have a point, unless you're, perfect teacher, they wouldn't hold it against you. But in other case, you might have some issues or something. It's possible, yeah. So again, relocate, take refuge during this time. Take refuge during this time, so that you can say, hey, you didn't mock me. You didn't rub my face in the mud. I wasn't destitute. You didn't do anything to me. You didn't bother me. So no worries, no harm, no foul. I'm happy to help. Super important, right? Super important. So I'm just advancing. What is this channel now? Relocation Reassurance. Right on. Very great. Good title I chose. New channel here. My first recording here. Nice long one. Started off here. Relocation Reassurance. Maybe I'll put up a YouTube channel. Relocation Reassurance. I'll do that. Very great. I'll rename my channel Relocation Reassurance. I'll put this one up there. Why not? Why not? Time to go for it, right? No time to pull any more punches. Time to get going. Time to get the garden growing. I plan a big garden, a wonderful garden. Early, it's growing. It's growing fast. So it's ready ahead of time. But no time to plant late. We don't want to plant our gardens late right now. I planted it, but what day was it in? Let's see. 20th. It was in like the 18th, 17th, 16th, like the 16th, and a little more the 17th and the 18th. Let's say the 16th of March it was planted, I think. What's the date? The 23rd, 22nd, 21st, 20th. It was in the 19th of March, let's say. It's all in on the 19th of March, very early, right? Most people start in like April or something. I got done in March 16th through the 18th, did the planting. Through the 19th, 16th through the 19th, did the planting. So boom, it's all in, the flowers, everything's boom, ready. It's going already. So we're gonna have a great garden early. Same thing with relocation. Let's do it early. Let's do it early. Don't wait too long until you're too brutalized, until you've been made a fool of. A little bit worried about some of the teachers of the world. I really am. A little bit I'm worried about it, because they're going to find out that they're going to be not as effectual as they hoped. And that they may be made fools of and mocked of at some point. And, I'm hoping that they see the big picture. I'm hoping they do. I hope they realize it's got to let the world bottom out. There may be some that stay here for whatever reason, but I would suggest relocation and let the dog fight play out. Let it play out. See, and my mom was here in the world, all these world wars and stuff, and they'd say, hey, what about the world war? She goes, what world war? And she goes, oh, everyone's killing each other. She says, what? I'm not even aware of it, she says. It's just, I don't see that at all. I just see dear friends playing a game with one another, silly game, a whimsical, silly game of one falls down, and then gets back up again. The other falls down, gets back up again. And that's how she saw war. It's just dear friends, the best of friends playing a silly game together. Literally, she said, that's literally what I see. I don't see any war. I'm not aware of a world war or anything like that. Not aware of enemies. She says, I don't see any enemies at all. Everyone's a dear friend to everyone else here in this world. She literally saw no enmity in the world whatsoever. None. So all this war and fighting, she said, that's just the best of friends having a jest, playing a silly, whimsical game together. Which is true, which is accurate. It's an accurate statement, actually. But she literally saw only that. Only that. So if you see that way, you can't be made a fool of. She said she couldn't be made a fool of. People said, people mocking you. No, it's just nobody's mocking me. It's only my dear friends being whimsical. And she literally felt it and saw it that way. So it was legitimate. It's not just someone taking a bravado, a spiritual position, a conceptual spiritual position, and then feeling something else inside. No, literally felt it and knew that this is true. That's a whole different story. That's like a perfect teacher. If you're not a perfect teacher, I advise not hanging out in this world. Really, if you're a perfect teacher, of course, do what you're going to do. Whatever is best and most effective, and it's not going to bother you one way or the other. Whether you take refuge or not, you can be in the world or not. It's all the same. But if you're not a perfect teacher, take refuge. I would say, need to take refuge. Don't take a stand on spiritual virtuosity. Forget it. Where you talk a good game and you don't have perfection of the vision of oneness. You don't have it, or it's not stable, whatever. Oh, no. Then you got to relocate. Then you got to relocate, or else you're going to be made a fool of. And that's going to help your viability, hurt your viability. It's going to hurt your viability later on. One, you're going to be confused. Two, you're going to maybe have grievances. Three, those who brutalized you are going to feel you might hold grievances against them, and it's going to make it more difficult. And when they ask for help, they're going to say, "Whoa, I don't think that I can ask them for help." That kind of thing. Whereas if you're in a beautiful place and relocate to a marvelous, wonderful, beautiful, peaceful place, and it's so wonderful, you're going to be so refreshed and happy, and you're going to say, oh, and they're going to say, where have you been during all this horrible stuff? And they say, oh, I was in this wonderful place. I just was treated so kindly and wonderful. It's incredible. They're going to say, good, because you're very happy, and you didn't go through this stuff. Wonderful. Now help me out, please help me. I'm so glad that you didn't get brutalized. That's what they're going to say at that point. So they'll sing a different tune later on. Right now, the tune they're singing, don't listen to it. It's crazy. They're drunk on the wine of Babylon, severely drunk on the blood of saints, as they call it. Drunk on the blood of saints. In other words, drunk on the blood of the sport of baiting spiritual teachers, baiting wisdom, baiting all that discipline of trying to make fools of us all. Drunk on that wine. So don't give them a bottle to drink. Okay, very great. All right, that's it for this one.